What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Today is Monday, which means Boxing Ego Monday Mail Day. You guys asked me a lot of questions. We just are coming off the heels of Sergey Kovalev shutting out Jean Pascal in the rematch, so there's some Kovalev questions, and I'm picking a lot. I thumbed up the questions that I will be answering today, this week, and let's get right into it because there's a lot of questions. And the first question is from Ali Dago 619. Do you think if Kovalev versus Ward was on pay-per-view, it would do good numbers? Yeah, I think if they market it right, I think it can. And namely because we seen Kovalev yesterday. He fought Pascal, and he looked good in there. Like, he was the better boxer. He had a good jab. He had a near-perfect rematch. The first fight was a little bit more competitive, even though I had him really winning the rounds. It was still somewhat competitive. Pascal landed some better shots in the first fight to me. So that's what you want to see from a guy who's a champion like Kovalev. You want to see him have a performance like he had yesterday, where it was just kind of dominant, and he duplicated what he did in the first fight, if not did it worse, because it was less back and forth. Because there was actually a point in the first fight, I think Kovalev got hurt in the first fight. And, he weathered the storm or whatever and ended up stopping Pascal. So, yeah, that was good. So, if he fights like maybe another tune-up fight, then that'll help build up for the Ward fight. And then Ward's fighting Sullivan Barrera, which is a good, sturdy test. So, yeah, I think it could do good pay-per-view numbers with the build-up because, again, you got Kovalev who just, shut out and mopped up Pascal in the rematch. And the other thing, you got to give credit to Kovalev because this is the second time where he goes to enemy territory. The home of Pascal goes to Canada and demolishes him. That's a road warrior. That's what I call a road warrior. So you got to give him credit for that too. So again, with Ward, he had some dry spells, legal trouble, layoff, shoulder, hand injuries, things like that. But now he's back. Rock Nation deal. I was at his last fight. I'm going to go to this fight with Sullivan Barrera at the Oracle. So if he looks good in there, then, these are just, it's just making the fights that they're already having, Kovalev and Ward, is an appetizer for Kovalev versus Ward. So I think it could do strong pay-per-view numbers. Another thing you have to keep in mind, last year we were kind of pay-per-viewed out. Yeah, Mayweather versus Pacquiao. People felt whatever way about that fight. The price was higher, like $100 or whatever. And then at the end of the year, they try to cram in a bunch. They try to force Golovkin to be a pay-per-view star. So you had Triple G versus Lemieux in October, right? And then that flopped in terms of the critical success pay-per-view buys-wise. And the very next month, you have Cotto Canelo. So we're not necessarily going to have that this year. They're talking about making Canelo. I don't know if he's fighting pay-per-view, but Canelo's fighting in maybe May. Triple G's fighting in April. If they fight, they're talking about fighting in September, hopefully. So it'll be stretched out a little bit more. You know what I mean? Because with Kovalev Ward, I don't think it'll happen in September. I think it'll happen more towards the winter, late fall. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot for fans to fork over 100 for Mayweather Pacquiao, then have to pay for Triple G Lemieux, then have to pay Cotto Canelo. So I don't know if we'll have that many. Floyd said he's retired. We don't know if he'll come back. A lot of people aren't really satisfied with Pacquiao versus Bradley 3. So I think a lot of people are probably going to stream that. I don't know. So I think basically what I'm saying is the competition in terms of how many pay-per-view buys there are this year is probably going to be decreased because Triple G, if they don't put him in there with like a Canelo, he's not going to be on pay-per-view. That's my opinion. Unless it's a fight like maybe he's moving up and fighting the James DeGale. But out of the crop of guys at 160, there's nobody that I could see HBO selecting for Triple G to be a pay-per-view fight unless it's like a Canelo. You know what I mean? No, Billy Joe Saunders. Is that going to be HBO pay-per-view? Maybe Sky Sports pay-per-view, but that's kind of what I'm saying. So bottom line is Kovalev Ward can do good because I think it'll be less pay-per-views to compete with also. And if they build it up in terms of both have good wins in between now and when they do fight, then yeah, I think it'll do solid numbers. Now I'm drinking this Starbucks coffee too, so excuse me if you hear little gaps where I'm guzzling. Oh, never mind. No homo. I don't like how that sounded. Next question is from Smitty Werbin Jaeger Man Jensen. That is very unnecessary for your username to be that long. But question is, do you think Andre Ward will be the A side in the Kovalev fight? Yeah, for the most part, yeah. I I mean, you're talking about Andre Ward. Well, I'm not talking about what the fans think or like, because a lot of casual fans hate him and like Kovalev's style or whatever. But in terms of accomplishments, he still has accomplished more. Kovalev's up there. I think Kovalev, I mean, beating Bernard Hopkins, beating Pascal decisively twice is great for his resume. Nathan cleverly, but still, Ward has accomplished more, like with the Super 6 tournament alone. You know what I mean? Chad Dawson beating a undefeated Edwin Rodriguez. In some of those fights, those were like the guy who was like Edwin Rodriguez was undefeated just like Ward, and he was a bit bigger. He failed to make weight, and he's a known puncher. Versus like Pascal Kovalev ish. Like you look at a fight like that, or cleverly, Kovalev was the power puncher, and he's a good boxer. You know what I'm saying? So he wasn't, the odds weren't stacked against him in a lot of departments, like Andre Ward, for example. Like Andre Ward, when he fought Edwin Rodriguez, not only did Rodriguez, he was a feared puncher coming off of a first round knockout in a tournament, but he was bigger than Ward. He failed to make weight, and on top of that, he was undefeated, and on top of that, he was what's it called? He was just like I said, he's bigger frame, and Ward was on a long layoff at that time. So Ward had been out for a year and a half. So, and then Ward did what he did. So I think Ward would be. I think he, you know, what I mean, he has more of a crossover personality. He's an HBO commentator as well. Sergey Kovalev is just like a mean little fucker. You know what I mean? He doesn't really have much personality. He's just a good fighter. You know what I'm saying? He occasionally will say trash talk or whatever, menacing things, but I think overall Andre Ward has just done more. He's the more celebrate. You know what I mean? Being in the Creed movie and HBO commentator, he's a bit more. So I think Ward, and he's also a bit more accomplished resume because he's been in the limelight a little bit longer than Kovalev. So I think he will be the A side. But Kovalev, I'm not shitting on him, saying he ain't nothing or whatever, but it could be considered close. But I think Ward has the power in this situation. I think Ward and Rock Nation over Kovalev in main events. Like for the most part, and this is, I know some people are going to try to bend and twist what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying. Kovalev is a great fighter. I actually picked, go look at my old predictions. I don't delete videos. So my old prediction, people said I was foolish. I picked Kovalev to beat Bernard Hopkins via decision. What happened? People said I was stupid and Bernard Hopkins was going to pull a rabbit out the hat. I like Kovalev, but I like the truth more than I like any individual fighter. And the thing with it is Kovalev, like it or not, he's still not that big of a star. As great of a fighter as he is, like to me, I think he should be at least at the level, if not above a level, in terms of how much he's celebrated than Gennady Golovkin, because he's proven more as a professional fighter to me than Gennady Golovkin. Golovkin's a good fighter, but he's proven less. If you look at Kovalev's resume and compare it to Golovkin's pro resume, night and day. Golovkin has nobody on his resume that's equivalent to a Bernard Hopkins. I don't care if Bernard Hopkins was 60. Bernard Hopkins is a G, and he's a legend. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not knocking Kovalev. I'm just calling out a C based on main events. And I know, shout out to Emily and my people at main events. They're doing what they can to market him and stuff. He just doesn't have that crossover Gennady Golovkin, I'm getting Apple commercials appeal at the moment. You know what I'm saying? So I think Ward is the bigger star, and he would be the A side. That's just my opinion. Now I see this. I'm briefly gonna talk about it. Panthers versus Broncos. Who you got? Ego, and then Chris Jackson responded, and that was from Up X Setter. Chris Jackson responded, bro. He answered that question. He got the Panthers. That is true. I'm going with Carolina Panthers. It's not my team. My team is the Niners, but they're nowhere near the caliber they need to be even in Super Bowl discussions. We have a lot of rebuilding to do, but I'm going with the Panthers. Question is actually Chris Jackson left a question that I thumbed up. If Gennady Golovkin were to fight James DeGALE next at 168, who would you give the edge to? That's a tough question. That's a really tough edge question. And it's really because I haven't really seen Golovkin at 168 before. You know what I'm saying? I've never seen him at anything above 160, so I have no idea how he would perform. That's precisely why I don't want to see him backtrack and move down in weight to fight like a Mayweather. He said he'll make 54 or 55 for Mayweather. I don't want to see that. I've never seen Golovkin. They're saying he's small, but I mean, you've been fighting at this weight for 8-10 years or whatever it's been for Golovkin, and all of a sudden for one dude for a payday, you're going to try to drop to make weight for Floyd Mayweather. Now, in the reverse, going up in weight, I don't know how he'll perform. So I guess I would give a slight edge to James DeGALE. They're both good fighters. James DeGALE, he's no punk. He took Darrell's best shots, Lucian Bute's best shots. So I would give James DeGALE a slight edge because he's more adjusted to that weight, and he's fought guys at the full 168 that are like Andre Darrell, guys that are like Paraban. I think he fought guys with some power. Lucian Bute has power. You know what I mean? Even though he's not necessarily been the same since the Carl Froch stoppage, he still carries power. You know what I'm saying? So I would give a slight edge to James DeGALE. They're both Olympic medalists, but James DeGALE has a gold medal. Triple G has a silver medal. And I think Triple G, he would be going up 8 pounds. I think his power will transition pretty well to 168. I do think Triple G has style and skill to move up and do cool for himself. But based off of what I've seen and the amateur experience that James DeGALE has, the frame, the power, and stuff like that, I give a slight edge to James DeGALE. I think he could box. He showed you that in the Andre Darrell fight. Darrell's athletic. See, that's the thing too. I was very impressed with what he did with Darrell in the first couple of rounds, because Darrell is actually athletic and pretty slick, and he has a pretty big frame. You know what I mean? And he has some speed. Triple G is slow. Now the thing is, Triple G, the reason why I might lean towards him a bit is because James DeGALE gave up damn near the whole second half of the Andre Darrell fight. So with Triple G's constant pressure, I don't know how he would do. But I'll lean towards James DeGALE just because I've seen him at the weight. But it could be a really good fight because of the way Triple G cuts off the ring and stuff like that. And he has a good jab too. So it's a good fight, but I'll give it to DeGALE based on his Olympic gold and more experience at the weight. Coffee break. Next question is from Simple11111. What is your thought on the fight between Roman Gonzalez and Naoya Inoue? I don't know how to pronounce his name correctly. Later on this year, or is it still a little early to make that fight happen? P.S. Love your videos. Thank you for that. Shout out to you. I'm not going to say it's early, but I think the Estrada fight would probably be before that fight. And then after something like that, that'll be more of a crescendo because he already beat Estrada. So I think Inoue, how high he's ranked and stuff, I think that would be like more of a, it'd be like Ward Kovalev type of fight. You know what I'm saying? That's the fight you work up to. So you fight the Pascals, the Sullivan Barreras, and then if you get past those, then you fight Inoue. So that's what I think. I think the next order of business will probably be a guy like Estrada, maybe a couple other tune-ups, and then maybe an Inoue fight. Next question is from Elver Galarga. What do you think of Triple G's management team? Tom recently said that they will not negotiate the weight with Canelo and that it has to be at full 160 or he would have to vacate. Why wouldn't Tom force the mandatory this May if he's going to stay firm on the fight being at full 160? Why wait till September if they don't have the Canelo fight guaranteed? They gave Canelo a pass just like Martinez and Cotto. Do you think Triple G should consider going to Al Heyman or another promoter that will be able to get him big fights? I can't tell him. That's his career, and contractually I don't know what kind of deal he has with K2. I don't know when his agreement is up or whatever the situation. I don't have all the details, so I don't even know if that's feasible for him to go to Al Heyman or something like that. But I've met Tom Loeffler, cool dude. I think Team Triple G, their biggest mistake is they put a lot in the atmosphere, and it comes across as contradictory. You know what I mean? Because things will be said later in short periods of time that kind of is counterproductive to what they already said. For example, Triple G's team will say, oh, we could fight anyone from 54 to 68. Triple G beats them all. Easy. Or whatever they said, right? Then come to find out, you can't fight anyone at 54. You don't want to fight Cotto at 54. You don't want to fight Canelo at 54. You don't want to fight Laura at 54. You only want to go to 54 for Floyd Mayweather. So if that was the case, then that's all you had to say from the jump. It's just like my ex-girlfriend. We would be going out to dinner or go out to eat or whatever. Like, hey, what do you want to eat? Oh, I'm okay with anything. Like, all right, let's go to Chipotle. Oh, I just had Chipotle. So you're not okay with anything. Because if you were okay with anything, when I say Chipotle, you'd be like, okay, let's go. You know what I'm saying? So say what you mean. That's the whole point. And I think Triple G's team has said some things. And the other thing is they're marketing Triple G, and I'm not knocking them because I understand the business. They're marketing him as the boogeyman. Nobody wants to fight him. Yet I could think of guys that are avoiding him, Billy Joe Saunders and Cotto and Sergio. There's been some guys that have avoided him, and I don't think really wanted to fight him. However, there are people staring you down. They may not even be in your immediate division, but hey, you got to do what you got to do to preserve your career. You're 33 years old, probably going to be 34 this year, and you got to get some marquee names under your belt, period. You know what I mean? So when you got guys like Andre Ward, not now, because a lot of fans try to fast forward to the future. Oh, Ward's a light heavyweight. He wasn't a fucking light heavyweight when he was calling them Little G and stuff. That announcement came after the fact. So there was a point in time where Andre Ward was willing to fight Triple G at 168. You know what I mean? And it was over a year. And he said, I'm cool. He said, Tom knows how to get in touch with me. We could talk. He could talk to Virgil, blah, blah, blah. And it was apparent that they didn't want to move up and fight a guy like Andre Ward. They'll fight Carl Froch there or Chavez, but they didn't want to fight Ward there. It is what it is. So little stuff like that. You can't just masquerade and say, oh, I'm being avoided. And then there's people like James DeGALE who are calling you out. That's 68. So again, maybe you don't want to go up for Ward or DeGALE. That's kind of contradictory because you said from this range to this range, we'll take on all comers. But then there's also people under you, like Edeslandi Lara, who's been calling you out for over a year. And if it's easy work, just shut him up. There's a video on Dante's Boxing Nation right now. They said, Laura can fight on HBO. It don't matter. Fight him. You know what I'm saying? Knock him out. Easy work. Cut off the ring with him. Do Willie Monroe him. And then move on. You know what I mean? It's no worse than you fighting Adama or some of the other guys on your resume. So it is what it is. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. I think his team, they aren't really in unison. You know what I mean? You look at Mayweather or PBC. We'll say PBC. When you look at their organizations, their teams, they're in unison. Like I remember when Pritchard Colon got hurt. Then everybody on the PBC, like, you know what I mean, all the main guys like Danny Garcia, Peter Quillen, Deontay Wilder, Sean Porter, they were all took to their Twitter. I don't know if it's them or their handlers or whatever. And they were like, oh, best wishes, get well soon, Pritchard Colon. Or if there's a big fight like Wilder fighting Spilka or something, then Danny Garcia was like, you don't want to miss this. Danny Jacobs is like, oh, check out my boy Wilder. And they're all like a family and they're all like congruent and having like a message that is in unison. But when I see things with Team Triple G and other teams, and I'm not going to call anyone else out because this question is about Triple G, I don't see that type of uniformity. I don't see everybody on the same page. Abel Sanchez will say something, and then it's not really consistent with what Tom Loeffler says and things like that. But back to your main question. I know I got long-winded right there. But I don't know. I can't really speak for K2 Promotions or Tom. I think it is, agree with what it sounds like you feel. They should have just forced the Canelo fight. And it ties into my main message of them not being consistent. If you are avoided, like you say you were being avoided, and you're trying to corral Sergio Martinez or Cotto for years to fight you, and I give you that. I don't think those guys wanted to fight you. Guys like Martinez, guys like Cotto, I don't think they want to fight you. Billy Joe Saunders, I don't think he wants to fight you. But if that is the case, you don't want to move up to 168 to fight Ward or DeGale. You don't want to move down or whatever. You don't want to fight Laura, right? And you're having this difficulty making a fight, and some people across the pond on the Al Heyman side. Why would you let Canelo escape? Who says, I'm not afraid of you. He's like, I don't see nothing special in you. You know what I mean? Canelo tweeted that after Triple G Monroe. So I agree with you. I don't understand why they... And especially without getting a guarantee. If you guys had the voluntary defense and it was in contract to we're going to fight if we both get past our voluntary defenses, then I would be like, okay, that's not that bad because you know you're going to fight. But that's not what was stipulated with the WBC and Team Triple G. What they agreed upon, what they negotiated is they can have voluntary defenses, and if they're successful, then they can go back to the drawing board, which is negotiating. That you could have cut months out of this equation by just making it a guarantee. Now watch the HBO telecast of Kovalev versus Pascal 2. They interviewed Jim Lampley interviewed Andre Ward, and he specifically said, they said, oh yeah, we'd all love to see a fight with you, Ward, and Kovalev. And Ward said, he says, yeah, my team's handling everything. I'll be fighting in the Oracle, March 26th, yada, yada, yada. And he said, as far as Kovalev, I'm going to check him out tonight, see how he looks against Pascal. And it's not really a question of if, it's a question of when should we get past our next opponents. That's what he said. He said it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. When will it happen? That's not the pact or agreement that Tom and Team Triple G has with Canelo, and that's what they should have at least done. If they're going to have voluntary defenses where Triple G fights Dominic Wade and Canelo fights Rosado or whoever, then at least have it in stone that, hey, fight me or vacate. Not, hey, if we both win, we go back to the drawing board. It's just like a waste of time. What if Canelo decides I'm dropping the belts? So you just waited all this time because, I mean, it's cool to get a belt by default, but it's better to beat somebody who has the belt and then earn it the old-fashioned way. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a lot of rigmarole, and it's a lot of wasted time as far as I'm concerned, when you could have just got to the beans and meat and the nitty-gritty and cut the fat from the beginning and just force this. You're having trouble getting fights with scary Billy Joe Saunders and stuff like that. Why let Canelo get away? Why let him lose? Why give him an opportunity to lose to somebody else? Why give him a chance to stall you out and string you along and then just vacate the belts anyway? When you could, because it would not make Triple G look bad at all if Triple G and team forced it on Canelo and then he vacated. That'll make Canelo look bad. They'd be like, damn, Canelo want no parts of Triple G. He just gave up his belts like it was nothing, right? So it doesn't hurt them. Either Canelo would be forced to face you in May because you're the mandatory, or he would be forced to give up his belts. And if you strong-armed him and he gave up the belt, the WBC belts or whatever, that way, then it just makes him look bad. It don't make Triple G look bad. Like, hey, I was willing to make the fight, and Canelo's the one willing to give up his belt just so he didn't have to fight me. So again, that's not the best way to inherit the belt, but at the end of the day, it makes sense because you at least did your due diligence instead of giving him an opportunity to escape a fight with you, period. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.